Heyo, I'm Christy Rocha, podcast host and content creator, and I am thrilled to welcome you to the Inner Edit. This podcast is all about us, the creators, the storytellers, visionaries, navigating the ever-changing online world. We are in this together, facing challenges unique to our craft, like burnout, setting boundaries, dealing with negativity, and that oh-so-familiar imposter syndrome. Join me as I chat with fellow creators, therapists, and coaches to explore collaborations, making connections, diving into creating conscious content, figuring out how to maximize our content output, and discovering that mindset magic that keeps us going. Whether you're a content creator seeking resources or just curious about the behind-the-scenes world of digital creators, the Inner Edit is your resource for personal and professional growth in the digital world. We're all going through the same things, so let's talk about it. Hit that subscribe button and welcome to the Inner Edit. Hello. Welcome back. Today I've got Alyce Chan on the show. Alyce is a content creator, social media star, and a multifaceted comedian who provides a much-needed comical take on the ups and downs of motherhood. She also performs stand-up comedy live and is a sketch writer and actor. She founded MomCom NYC, a humorous parenting platform, which Vogue featured as one of the top 6 funniest parenting Instagram accounts to follow. If you're a mom or a creator or both and you don't know who she is, you need to check her out. I find her hilarious. Her videos are so funny, relatable, and at times inspiring. Today, Alyce is here to share her insight on how she handles burnout, juggling work and motherhood, and of course, she's going to give us some laughs along the way. Let's hear from Alyce. Hey, Alyce, so nice to meet you. Thanks for being here with me.
Thanks for having me, Chrissy.
I'm so excited. I feel like this is one of those moments where you just like watch someone all the time and now all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're here.
I'm here. I'm real.
You're a real person. I know you probably hear this a lot, but I like stream literal tears of laughter watching your videos. Like they're so funny. Your timing is impeccable. You're always your choice of like music or audio or whatever. It's just like so on point. And then of course the content itself, just being a mom, it's like I die. Like I cry laughing. You're so funny. Like so
You're
funny.
my people. I want like that to me is like music to my ears. It's like that's what keeps me going. And I'm like, okay, there is a reason why I'm doing it. Because sometimes I'm like, I'm laughing at myself. I'm like, okay, that's funny. And then it
Yeah.
gets a few views. I'm like, I guess certain people appreciate it more. The people who do appreciate it, I find it's not the mass. It doesn't appeal to everybody. I know
Mhm.
that. But when I find the people who are like, I found that very funny and I can relate to it, I'm just like, okay, you're my people.
Yeah.
You're a small group. And I have to say, it's a little smart comedy. It's not just all physical. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. That's a huge compliment. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's just I think that's a really I hadn't heard that term before, smart comedy, but that is what it is. It's you're very clever and
And I'm
it's
complimenting myself.
I know,
Smart.
but it is you nailed it. It's you're very clever about it. Because I think what I always appreciate is that there are these trends on social media, right? We see them, everybody jumps on them, and it's hard to really make it your own. And I find that you do that really well. It's like the
Um,
trend is there, but you've tweaked it enough to be like, oh, this is new, this is different.
I love the trends because I think it's great when I see moms who aren't really like their brand isn't really to be funny and comedic, and that's cool. But I love when they try to dip their toes in it, and trends are the easiest way to do it because you just have the same audio, you kind of mimic the same way, and you could put your own spin to it. But I feel like that allows other people to kind of like get a feel of comedy and putting a comedic spin on their brand. And I think that's really nice. And sometimes I do that too, like when I'm like, I don't want to think. and I see a trend, I'm like, it's funny, it's short enough and easy enough to just post. So
Yeah.
I'll do that too. I'll write on that as well. But
Yeah.
I love when I see other moms doing it. I'm like there are people who are just talking about mental health all the time. There are people who talk about um, cooking and
Right.
or organizational for your home, and they jump on the trend, and it's nice to see because it's always nice to add some levity to your whole brand.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, especially now, right? Like I feel like it can be very like very daunting and dark.
Yeah,
Dark
and
out there.
it is, and it's like you have to be able to compartmentalize and not drown yourself in the world news. There's always tragedy when you look for it, but there's also lightness, and you need that to thrive. And as a mother, you need that for your children.
Yeah.
There's a trend that's happening right now on TikTok and Instagram, and I find it really funny. It's a mom breaking down,
Mm.
just having a very hard time with with life. And then her toddler or child asks her to open a yogurt pouch, and she stops crying. She
Oh,
opens it up, and then
I've
she
seen that.
continues to
Yeah.
cry. And that's kind of like mom life, right? You got to
Yeah.
pause everything and make sure you're not traumatizing your own kid, and you're also helping them out, and you're making sure they're safe and clean and healthy and
Yep.
well adjusted. So there's so much happening for moms, and that's why yesterday I had a post, and I don't usually post anything honest and vulnerable, and it was just me taking my son out of school because he had a slight cough. But I was like, hey, you know what, I'm going to take this opportunity as having to give us both a mental day.
Yeah. 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 So, okay. So my brain is firing in so many different directions. The first is that I want to just say how comforting it is to hear that even someone with a sizable platform and community feels like sometimes you are just like talking out into the abyss, like, hello, is anyone there?
Totally.
Because I feel that constantly, and it takes it actually takes work on my part to seek it out and go, okay, no, I'm not just talking out into nothingness. There are people listening. There are people that this is resonating with. And I think it's such a great reminder for anyone listening who isn't a content creator, but supports people who are. It's like, we're doing it so that you feel something. Like,
Uh,
say it. It's okay. Like,
uh,
I feel like sometimes people are shy or don't realize how much it means to creators to hear feedback.
totally, you hit that on the nail. And I do, when I do create stuff, and sometimes I'll be like, okay, that's funny, and it has like zero traction, and like I only get comments from my sisters and my family, of course. And I'm like, well, dude, doesn't nobody else appreciate? I have a lot of those moments, and I
Yeah.
have a lot of imposter syndrome, and especially when I post live shows and no
Mm.
one likes the poster, and I'm like, okay, I guess no one's coming to the show. Like,
Mm.
but yeah, it totally is. And then sometimes randomly I'll get someone who doesn't even have a profile picture on their Instagram, not active on Instagram, and they stop to just say, hey, this really related to me.
Oh, in
This
a good
happened.
way.
Yeah,
I thought you were going the other way.
I have the
Uh,
other ones too,
yeah.
but I'm not going to give them any airtime. And they'll say, this made me feel so much better, and knowing that I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
And, and some people are like, I don't even know how I got the emoji on this, and I'm like, thank you so much. And I always write back because I don't always get them.
Yeah.
And like I said, some people are too shy, and they think, oh, well, this person has, I don't know, 100,000 followers, but they won't get back to me. No, I'm a regular person, just
Yeah.
like you and me and anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Um, and just I know I'm like jumping around a bit, but because I don't want to forget to ask these things that I made notes on. But I'm curious, do you see yourself more as a content creator or a comedian? Because I think you bring something very different to this space. And so I'm wondering where you feel more comfortable, or what do you identify more as?
That's a very good question. I ask myself that all the time. And my husband asked me that too. He's like, what do you really want to do? Because I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm straddling between two worlds. Like, there's the live comedy, which is a very different animal, to content creation. And I'm trying to find a way to marry them both.
Mhm.
I've always had comedy in my life. I was always like kind of like the clown in the group of my friends. So I know that my purpose in life is to make people laugh and to add levity to the world. And so if I could do it live, I much prefer that because it offers a more tangible connection. I actually get to meet people and I get to physically touch people.
I
And the
know.
people who come from my Instagram to the live shows, and that's the journey that I want. I want people to be like, oh, yeah, I saw her video. I related to her. I wonder how she is live, which is totally different content. Obviously, Instagram is a lot more G friendly,
Mhm.
and live is really there are nuances that you can't display on Instagram, and it's
Mm.
really my true personality. And I do talk about the same things, but I'm a little more vulnerable and of course a little I could be a little ragey and I might cuss, you
A
know.
little edgier.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like they deserve it if people are paying for babysitters. They deserve a little more,
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess, edgier content that's more there's more substance in just trending audio
Yeah.
TikTok videos.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel that, and I think more than anything, not having had the experience that you have, but the experience I do have is when those rare moments occur where I'm connecting with someone in real life, it's just different.
Isn't
It's
it's
so different.
it
Yeah,
is,
yeah. It
and
just it
it's
feels good.
what keeps me going, and I don't do the comedy for money. For
Mm,
content creation, it's how I monetize, and that's how I can sustain what I do. But my true love is performing live because of the connection to the audience.
yeah.
And what I see when the audience is laughing and after it could be a room full of strangers who don't know each other and they bond over one punchline, one joke, and to
Hmm.
feel that together in a room,
Yeah.
such a united feeling. And then afterward I get to talk to them, and people tell me stories like, okay, like I had a hard day today, I left my husband home, I came here to see you, I drove 1 hour to see. And I'm like, wow, like that means so much to me. Like
Yeah.
I can't even explain it in words.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've learned about those in-person connections and what you do and what you feel there that you've been able to translate to your online platforms?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I feel like I need to be a little more I could probably I feel safer to be more vulnerable online
Okay.
because when I'm on the stage, there's a lot of riffing. Sometimes I get a heckler, or sometimes someone's trying to interact with me in the audience, and it's very improv. So I'm like riffing off the audience, and
Mhm.
it's my true personality. And I feel like people who come to see the show really want to see authenticity. And I think for my content on Instagram, I can I should welcome more authenticity. I've always been very distant from being vulnerable and honest. I'm also having a hard time expressing myself, even with my relationships towards my husband, towards my friends. So I think that's something I've been struggling all my life, but on stage, it's allowed me to do that more openly and honestly and easier, which
Yeah.
I think lends goes back to my content creation online, and it
Yeah.
allows me to be more comfortable to be honest and be more of myself.
Yeah. It doesn't feel that way to me as a
Yeah.
consumer. It doesn't feel it feels personal. It doesn't feel impersonal. It feels like, and maybe it's just because the level to which you are, like, what you are posting is just so relatable that, like, it's not, I'm not thinking about it, as authentic or not authentic because I can literally put myself in the exact same
Oh,
situation, so it just feels right, you know what I mean?
aw.
But I'm curious now, was there a set intention for what like boundaries you put in place for as far as like what you share and what you don't?
Yeah.
And
I
how
don't
did you come up with that?
ooh, I don't wanna talk about what my family, I don't want to bring my family into it
Okay.
unless it's very relatable, generic topic. So, like,
Right.
all dads take a long time going to the bathroom. I will milk that, and I will make fun of my husband, even if he doesn't go, take 2 hours in the bathroom, I will exaggerate.
Yeah.
Or my kids not wanting to eat things that I make, which is a true story, but I will embellish that. But I'm not gonna talk about, like, when my kids stopped wetting the bed or, like, m my estranged parents. I don't wanna go into that detail.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I have boundaries where I'm like, "Okay, if you that's the stuff that is off the table."
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah,
good. I think it's important
yeah.
because and I think it's important to think about ahead of time because
Yeah.
in the pace of this machine,
Mhm.
it's I've learned from experience, it
Yeah.
is easy to get caught up in a moment with someone or to get caught up in a moment with a trend and then later be like, "Oh, I don't really feel great about that. Let
Mm,
me take a step back and evaluate, do I really want to go there or not?"
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
because it moves so fast that it's like,
No,
you gotta think about it ahead of
yeah,
time.
yeah. I think I just know, like, okay, don't go there.
Yeah,
It's very it's almost like a layered cake, right? Like the top layer is like everyone knows majority of Chinese parents who are immigrants have a certain way of quote nurturing unquote their kids and how Asian kids in Canada or America grew up with immigrant parents.
yeah,
That's like vast knowledge. That's like mainstream knowledge. So I'll play on that. The
yeah,
jokes will be coming from that. But I'm not going to talk about, I'm not going to paint my parents in a negative light.
right.
I know they love me. I know they meant well. I know they had limited resources. And I'm like, I'm not going to talk about,
Yeah,
I have spoken about how my dad loves the casino.
mm,
But that's him,
yeah.
and I found jokes within it, but I would never paint my parents in a bad light.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's your platform, it's your
Yeah,
prerogative, right?
yeah,
Um,
and I
to that
feel like I grew up normal and pretty fortunate, and if it wasn't for my parents, I wouldn't be here today, and
right.
it's been this way, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
J- Kind of, piggybacking off of that, do you feel a pressure or do you get any backlash or feedback about choosing to post or not post or have opinions on what's going on in the world without getting into specifics, but I know that it's like it feels like a lose-lose. There's gonna if you do, people don't like it. If you don't, people don't like it. Like, how do you manage that, and how do you handle that pressure, that dilemma?
I've never been the person to talk about politics even with a group of people. I don't watch the news. Um, I Yeah, that's a very hard one. I am very general with what I say,
Hmm.
and I don't try to choose sides. I mean, I'm a humanitarian. Like I just stand for human rights. That's really the bottom line. Like I don't stand for violence. I
Hmm.
don't stand for children and women being disrespected
Yeah.
and dishonored and elderlies. Like
Yeah.
and I don't have to speak up, and I don't think people expect me to because it's a comedy page. I'm not a celebrity. I'm
Yeah.
not a politician. So I think what I do though is I do remain quiet to kind of like absorb what's going on,
Hmm.
and it does take a mental toll, obviously, to creative powers. So there's many times where I just get beaten down by the world news, and I'll just kind of like retreat.
Yeah.
And but it doesn't mean I'm not thinking about it. Doesn't mean that I'm not compassionate if I create something, because my platform is a comedy platform. It's not all me. It's a
Yeah.
snippet of me.
I find it particularly interesting, and I think this is where there's still a lot of work and conversation that needs to happen. But um no one expects when there's let me rephrase this. When there is something going on in the world,
Yeah.
right? Like right now, and we don't need to talk about it, but just as an example to make sure everyone listening is on the same page, right now the war in Israel is happening, right? No one expects anyone who goes to an office every day to not go to work because this is going on,
Yeah.
right? Teachers still have to
Right.
go to teach, bankers still have to go to the bank, lawyers still have to go practice law, but there is still this misunderstanding about what creators do online. People still don't take it as a job. So when creators keep posting,
Mm-hmm.
they're labeled insensitive. They're
Mm-hmm.
labeled out of touch.
Mm-hmm.
They're it's like bizarre to me. It's like this is this person's livelihood. This is their job. You still got up and went to work. Why is this person who's creating comedy not allowed to go to work?
I've never heard that explained so well. That is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, I'm guilty of that. Like, I'll read, I'll be scrolling, and I saw an account saying, which is a comedy account, I don't feel comfortable posting a joke today. I don't feel it's right.
Yeah.
And uh, I was like, oh, I get it. I get it. Yeah, I shouldn't be posting this reel about my kid not wanting to eat my dinner. Yeah, I'll wait. I'll wait. But
Yeah.
wait until when?
Right.
What? Like,
Like today it's not going on anymore.
right.
Like and to your point, if I'm also not about someone doing something that truly feels uncomfortable for them. So if it's a day where you have the capacity, you're not, obligated by any deals and contracts to post, and it just feels authentic to you to take a day off, like do you. But
Yeah.
it's the expectation and pressure
Yeah.
to do it rather than it being a choice that has me like, what the heck? Like, if I went to an office, I'd be going to work today and I'd be
Yeah.
sending emails. Like, it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like doctors are like, I can't operate
Oh,
today.
yep.
I'm taking,
Sorry.
yeah, I
Yep.
cannot.
Yep.
Like,
I know I've had this scheduled with you for 3 weeks, but sorry, not
yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And truly, like, and this is exactly it. If that doctor has family in Israel and truly
Yeah.
feels like that doctor is unable to perform their
Yeah.
job because they are so truly impacted by something that's going on, all day
Yeah.
reschedule.
Yeah.
But eh, eh,
Mm-hmm.
eh.
Mm-hmm.
It's still not taken as a quote unquote real job.
It's not. I don't know how long it'll, I mean, I guess it's pretty
I
new-ish.
know. In the
Like,
grand scheme, it's new,
right?
right? Yeah.
Yeah. People are like I'll be on my phone and my kids are like, why are you on your phone? I'm like, oh, I'm working. And they're like, no, you're not. I'm like, I am. This dinky little thing here is what I do. I'm like, sometimes I'm amazed. I'm like, if I lose this phone, all my content, this is what I use to edit, film.
Yep.
I'm just going, this is my little tiny gadget here.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, crazy. And my husband has a traditional job where he is actually going into the office,
Hmm.
who has meetings from 9 to 6 p.m. And when I'm doing this, I'm working, but they don't see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think as I'm saying this, I realize that at least for me, you've probably already gotten there because you know, are doing it at a much higher level than I am. But I know that it actually has to start with me seeing it that way too.
Um,
Because I
that's
can see it for you that way, but I
yeah,
don't give myself the same grace. I don't know what it is, but like I just recently, because with the rebrand, I'm like I'm redoing my Instagram, like I'm doing things differently, and I took this Instagram like course, and she basically was like it took a whole section of the course to be like schedule time for your Instagram the way you would schedule time for anything else in your business.
yeah,
Schedule time as if it's accounting, as if it's whatever, because it's
yeah,
marketing. Like this is it, and it like hit me like a Mack truck. I was like, oh, so like scheduling time to just comment on people's posts. Like it's
yeah.
it's work, Christy. It's work.
Wild,
Like,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, sometimes I'm like this, and they're like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I'm working, I'm
Yeah.
engaging,"
Hmm.
like, engaging with people.
Yeah. She was like, "Don't underestimate it. I want you to schedule like 30 to 40 minutes a day of just engaging with people,
Yeah. And
like
that really
while you're
works.
building." Yeah, exactly.
That
Like,
works because you gotta stay relevant and you gotta be popping in people's news feeds.
yeah.
So, or, "Oh, yeah, she's still around. Oh, yeah, I wonder what she's up to. Check on her page."
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. But
love that.
it's real. It's like a real thing. It's not just
Yes,
fluff.
and I do that to myself too.
Yeah.
I do it. I'm like, "Why am I even creating this?" "Oh, because I need to pump content out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people are gonna be just scrolling past you or not even remembering that you exist. So
Yeah.
I gotta keep reminding people, 'Hey, I'm still here.'"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just hearing you say even like pump content out, like, I've said before, just like the endless scrolling, like the machine aspect of it. Like, do you have check-ins in place for yourself, or like do you burn out? Like, how do you recognize you're burning out? Like, what do you do to like keep yourself going in that aspect, or do you not?
Yeah, I actually don't check in with myself. I'm like a true Virgo where I'm like, I just do things as I feel. Like,
Mm,
so if I feel like, "Oh, I have an idea. I have to record it right now. It has to be right now. I'll do it."
okay.
Like if the lighting is good and I have an idea, I have to do it. And you won't like this because I was at the gym and I was
Mhm.
engaging while I was working out.
Oh, I
I
do
had
that too.
on my treadmill. I was like, "Hey, I can do two things at once."
Yeah, I do that too.
Yeah, so I can't shut off. And I try to give myself points as in like, okay, my kids just asked, okay, I'm picking up my kids. That's my shut off time. I'm
Hmm.
gonna spend an hour with my kids. I'm gonna be very present. I'm not gonna look at my phone. So
Yeah.
I will try to do that, but it changes all the time. So
Yeah.
sometimes I'll do half an hour with my kids. Sometimes they want to do iPad, they don't want to talk to me and they want to decompress. I'm like, all right, then I'm gonna do my own thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, but it, see, this is where, as an outsider, as a person talking to you, I can so easily, without hesitation, look at you and go, "That's amazing that you do that." Like, to take an hour or to take a half an hour, because it's so easy to actually not do that. And
Mm,
I know, as for myself, if I take a half hour with my kids, I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm going, "Ugh, I probably could have done 10 more minutes." And
mm,
so, like, I just wanna say to you,
mm,
even though to you it might not feel like a lot, it is, and it is, like, you're doing it.
mm.
Like, you are though, because, and you know what? You need someone else to, like, say that to you,
I
because we
know.
won't say it to ourselves.
I know. We're like the most awful, critical people to ourselves, right?
Yeah,
But I also feel like I'll know when I'm burned out because I won't want to film anything.
yeah,
And I'll be like, "Oh, I just don't have the juice. I don't know why. I'll have writer's block. I won't know. Like, I'm like, I can't be funny today." Like, and I'll go for a whole week. And I'm
yeah,
like, "Oh, it's because I'm burnt out."
yeah. So what
Yeah.
do you do? What do you do to
Uh,
reset?
I'll go to the spa. I'll
Yeah,
just like really spoil myself, or I'm really trying to meditate more on the like more on the regular, but I'll do everything that self-care entails.
yeah,
Massage, take a long shower, I'll try to work out, go for walks, try to be in tune with nature and play with my kids.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's like all the things that I'm always like, "It's too simple. It can't be
That you
the
have to
only."
do. Yeah. Wash my face.
Have a meal that I cooked instead of,
Yeah.
like, door dashing
Something
for the 100th
and
day in a row.
healthy. Get myself a donut.
Yeah, I know, I
I
know.
have no method. I just go as I feel like it
You
just
Yeah, it's
yeah.
very, like, on intuition. You just feel
Yeah.
it out. Yeah. Okay, I like that though, because I think for me, it's good because I I can overthink to the point where I it's, like, paralyzing. It's like,
Yeah.
so I have actually a thing here, it's, like, related but unrelated. It says launch fast, adjust later,
Mhm.
because I will get caught up in, like, the perfectionist. of anything. And it's like,
Mm,
I'll, I will like create a perfect like self-care plan on paper for
yeah.
more time than I actually do the plan.
Oh my God.
I'm
Wait,
like,
you actually have self-care plan on the paper, like you write it down?
sometimes if I really feel like I need to,
Like
but then I don't do it.
a shower, go
Like
out for a walk, you do that?
like I will sometimes have to put in my calendar like what I
Really?
need to do. Not shower. Shower I do,
Yeah.
but like yeah, like I need to schedule my movement. I need to schedule my downtime or
Mm.
it just
What's your downtime like?
I realized after I said that, I was like, what is my downtime?
Quick, look
Usually
at your notes.
no, usually and truly it's usually happens if my husband works late.
Yeah.
Then after I put my kids down, that's when I'm like putting on Housewives or I'm like,
Oh, it does not feel good.
oh, it's the best.
It's best when it's quiet at home, your
Yeah.
kids are asleep, husband's out,
Yep.
he's
And
asleep.
like I can just eat like hummus and pretzels for
Yeah, just
dinner.
you like have a whole space to yourself. No one's touching you or asking
Yep.
you questions.
Yeah. I
Yep.
usually get a call about once a week where he's like, I'm really sorry. Like I have so much to do at work. And I'm like, oh, I'll miss
Same.
you.
I know.
Get out.
Like, do you mind if I go in the office tomorrow? I'm like, oh,
Oh.
right. Are you gonna be home for dinner though?
No,
No.
forget it. When he tries to stay home in the morning and work, I'll be like, so what time are you leaving? He's like, are you trying to kick me out? I'm like, yes, like this is like daytime vibe. Like, get out. You are not a part of the daytime scene in the house. Like, be gone. He wants to like eat lunch together. I'm like, no, we don't do that here. Like, I love you, but no, move along. I don't stop for lunch
Like
like that.
like when we're working at home together, he'll like knock on the door. I don't know. It's like I know it's like around lunchtime, and he's just like, "What do you want for lunch?" I'm like, "Actually, nothing.
Yeah.
Don't come in." And he's like,
I want
"Well,"
you to go away.
and my face is like, "I'm working. You just like disturb my flow."
I
I'll
know.
eat pecans or whatever I find in the.
I know.
I don't care.
I know. I know. I've had to really like have the conversation where I'm like, you know how sometimes at the end of the day, I call you and you're at your desk and we have a really quick conversation because you're like, hey babe, I'm at my desk. I gotta go.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in my home office, bro. Like it's the same thing. Like anyway, that was a tangent. Like I want I want quiet for lunch. That's what I want.
Uh,
Um anyway, all right. So getting back to you and your platforms, I'm curious, is there anything that you would go back and do differently about your platform and building it now that you know more or whatever?
yeah, I wish I started earlier. I just
Mm,
discovered Instagram in 2017.
okay.
So I mean,
Yeah.
that's I don't know when it even started, but there was a whole bunch of people already starting do Instagram like do the Instagram. And I was just starting, I was like, what's this? I have two babies now. And I'm like, I'll just, create an in account and I'll
Yeah.
start writing some jokes. But yeah, I wish I started earlier
Yeah.
and I wish someone told me about that.
Yeah.
I could have just used that as my outlet because I had a first kid and all I did was baby and me yoga classes
I know.
and
Yeah.
all like mom stuff. And I was like, okay, I want to be the perfect mom, but why am I so miserable?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
needed Instagram. I needed I needed an online community. That's what I needed.
Yeah, you needed an outlet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I just got a new headshots taken yesterday and
Ooh,
the makeup artist and the hairstylist, but more so the makeup artist was just like straight up love my kids, hate motherhood. And I don't even feel like I can say that. I feel like people think I'm crazy. Um, and it's just even motherhood is isolating in itself. And then when you
yeah.
add to it that I just like, there's just a lot of aspects of it that I don't enjoy, that I don't feel like me, all these things, it just becomes even more isolating. And I just I really felt the need to, like, really see her in that moment, and I feel like there are creators like you, like Tara, that will talk about the stuff that's just, like, messy
Mm.
and not great. Um, and I'm just curious, like, in your interactions with your following, it's like there are more people out there, right? Like, that kinda, like, just struggle with this of, like,
Uh,
it's not all beautiful.
no, definitely not all beautiful. It's very messy. Um, I have this like I was thinking about it, and it's not like Einstein genius level. But I was like, okay, I love my kids. I think they're the coolest people. They're super cute. They're fun. They're yes people, right?
Mhm.
And if I get to just hang out with them, that's cool. But no, I can't. I have
Yeah.
to be that parent. And parenting is a way to just clamp
Mm.
fun, right? You have to say no. You have to make sure that the fun is limited because they have to go to bed. You
Yeah.
have to make sure they have to eat. So it's constant like, did you put on your shoes? Can you brush your teeth? Can you go to sleep? Can you put your sweater on? It's constant that.
Yeah.
That's shit we don't want to do.
Yeah.
Want to hang out with our kids. We love it.
Yes.
Parenthood doesn't like it sucks because
Yes.
you're the cop. You're policing them.
Yeah.
And it sucks. I hate telling my cool kids to be like, it's time to go to bed. No, you have to go to bed
Yeah.
because if you don't, then you can't go to school. Like, eat
Yeah.
your breakfast, put your plate on the counter. I mean, it sucks. We don't want to hear that from our own parents. Like, that part does suck. So
Yeah.
when people are like, "Oh, then why did you have kids?" I'm like, because they're cool, they're
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
And we don't want to parent. Can someone
Yeah.
else parent my kids? Then yeah, I can
Yeah.
like sit and watch TV and have ice cream with them, and someone will tell us to go to bed and
Yeah.
shout at them and me. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you nailed exactly what I think she was trying to say. I think I it clicks more for me when you say parenthood than motherhood, right? I think
Motherhood
'cause
adds another layer to it because now
yes.
it's like, who am I?
Yes.
What did I just
Yes.
right?
Yes. And this is reminding me a lot of an interview I did with Meredith Masony from That's Inappropriate. And one of her like favorite things to say is like, I have a name and it's not mom. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
am a
good for on that.
person.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I am a person.
Mhm.
I have interests, I have needs. Do you find that, saying that you wish the platform had started earlier and this and that, like, validate for me, if you will? Having this outlet, having this space to go, having this thing, the comedy that's yours, the touring, like, are you a better mom
Yes.
because of it? Yeah.
110% yes.
Yeah.
When I work harder as a mom knowing that okay, if I'm leaving, I know which dates I'm leaving. Okay, if I'm leaving on that weekend, I'm not going to be with them that weekend. I'm going to go extra hard with my kids, be extra patient because I have that
Yeah.
capacity to do it. And then when I come back, I miss them. I get a chance to miss them. I get a chance to tell them what I did. And I want to hear what they did. Oh, it's 110%. I feel like you don't have to travel and tour to do that. You can go out and connect and go out with your girlfriends.
Yeah.
You can take a painting class and then tell your kids about it and show them your art or teach them. Like I'm doing a bring your own kids comedy, all ages. And I asked my kid, I'm like, do you want to do jokes? Do you want to go on the stage? Do you want to come with me? Like I want to share part of my
That's cool.
world with them. And it creates such a special bond. And I've noticed my oldest now 9, we had a weird dynamic last year where I felt like very distant from him and he
Mhm.
was like turning into a teenager at 8.5. And now it's different because I found a way to connect with him, and that's being less of a nag in the morning, being
Mm.
more patient, being more nurturing in the morning, and not trying to teach them
Yeah.
things in the
Yeah.
morning. I used to be like, "Did you put on your shoes? I told you to put on your shoes. That's why you have to wake up 21 minutes." Like, shut up, Alice. Like,
Yeah.
just nurture him in the morning, connect with your kid, find a way to connect. And it's really improved our relationship. And I've actually been touring more, but our relationships have been a lot more intimate and closer,
Yeah.
ironically.
Yeah. going back only because I don't know, was when you first had your kids, were you at home full time? Were you working, like, you were home full time?
So my first kid, I was working at a bank, like a regular 9 to 5 job, and I had 4 months of that. Then my husband said to me, "Hey, if we downsize the apartment, we can have you full time as a mom and quit your job." And I hated working at the bank. So
Mhm.
to me, that was like winning the lottery. And I was like, "Oh, stay at home, doing
Yeah,
nothing all day? Yeah." And I didn't know how hard it was going to be.
yeah,
Then I
yeah.
was doing that for 3 years, and I didn't do comedy for 3 years. I took a break from it. And then, it was, like, my second kid, I realized I need to marry them both together, find, something to do with comedy and motherhood and marriage, and marry that gap.
Okay. So what did it look like for you to make that adjustment back to bringing yourself out of the house? Because I feel like the desire to do it is one thing, but actually taking the action to do it is where I think a lot of moms get stuck.
Yes.
So what did you do? What's your advice? Like, how do we actually take the action then?
That's great. There was a pivotal moment. We were living in Brooklyn, Greenpoint, Brooklyn, which is like super happening. It had bars and restaurants. And I walked by this bar and it had a poster. It said all women's comedy show free. It was half like literally outside of my apartment building. I had no excuse to not go. And I was curious because I'm like, well, I did comedy once.
Mhm,
Why can't I just go check it out for 1 hour?
mhm.
No excuses. Physically, I mean, I could have just crawled over there. So I went, I checked it out, and I realized all these feelings I had resurfaced. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is something I need to do." And
Mm,
I went to the host producer and I asked her, "Hey, I used to do comedy. Can I get on?" And blah blah blah. And she put me on in a month. And I was like, "Holy shit. I got serious?" Like okay. So I did a 5-minute set at her show the next month, and it just validated that I had to continue doing this.
Yeah.
And I did. And that was the pivotal moment. So, yeah, it's hard to actually do the thing, but I didn't realize I was missing something.
Mm,
I knew I was depressed. I wasn't happy. My relationship with my husband was not good
mhm,
because I wasn't myself and I didn't know that. And I had a lot of rage,
mm,
and I felt like that moment I realized, "Oh, that's what's missing?"
mm.
That just helped clear so many, like, cobwebs in my mind. I was like, "Oh, I don't actually hate my husband.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually needed to do something for myself."
Yeah.
So I feel like, just experiment. You gotta go out. You gotta leave the house
Yeah.
physically and try things, try new things, and something new might interest you.
Yeah. And it's baby steps, right? Like
It's very time. It took me 3 years. I
yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, like you said, you don't have to all of a sudden go on a comedy tour, but
Mm,
1 hour free show that you
yeah.
went to snowballed over
Change.
time,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think too, like, I'm better about it now, but I used to get caught up in that of like, well,
Mhm.
what's a 1 hour really gonna do? And it's like, well, that hour for you changed a heck of a lot. You know what I
Right?
mean? And you don't
Yeah,
know
like
which hour it's gonna be, but
yeah.
yeah, you
And
gotta
it's
let
like
yourself do it.
it's I guess, like, if it wasn't as physically accessible, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
'Cause I was like, "Okay, Alice, you have no excuse." Also, I didn't wanna be stuck home with my husband at that time, I really hated him. So, it was like, "Oh, I get to go out." So, I
Yeah.
went and I mean, he's so supportive with my comedy, and
Yeah.
it's our relationship better as well. So, you gotta go out, you gotta physically leave the home, go out with your girlfriends. Sometimes conversations with other people will start something. Go to a networking event, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I find that I like there's no one that wants to be more supportive than my husband.
Mm,
But there are times where just the coordinating of what I want to do stops me from doing it. But like then when I get to him, he's like, well, yeah, let's because nothing's as big of a deal to men usually. They're like, what's the big deal? Let's just coordinate it. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, half of that plan doesn't make sense, but I can tweak it and it'll make sense. And yeah, you're right. It's not actually a big deal. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I have to like let him help. And it's like there are times where I feel guilt over being away or that he's alone with the kids or whatever it is. And it's like no one's happier that I come home happy than he is. Like,
I know. I mean, just you tell me about how supportive he is. He sounds like an incredible partner and man. And um I do that to myself too. It's an internal conversation where I'm like, oh my God, I can't ask him. It's gonna be 3 days in Seattle. So yesterday I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be gone December 8th to the 10th. Do you have anything happening? Nope. Okay, right. I'll just put that on my calendar. I'm like, well, that was easy.
yeah, they're like done with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, that's all I had to do is just ask him. Okay.
I
And then you
know.
keep doing that. It's like a muscle. If you keep doing that, it'll get
Mm, okay. Just like the gazillionth time that I need like the same reminders over and over again, right?
easier.
All right. Well, is there anything I was like to ask this question too. Is there anything that you've learned about yourself since, becoming a public figure, if you will, that you didn't expect or that is interesting to you or just anything that's come up?
Hmm. I learned that there are a lot of really incredible humans out
Mm.
there, mothers. I learned that I'm so like I love moms. I like hope them. I don't know why. Like if I see a pregnant mom, I'm like, oh, want anything? Let me do everything for you. Like I will take your baby. Like I feel a lot more I feel like I'm more compassionate and kinder as a person.
Mm,
I can't watch scary movies anymore, especially if they have kids in it.
can't either.
Uh, I'm very against I've always been against bullying, but I'm very like aware of,
Mm.
when you go to the playground as a parent, the thing to watch out for are assholes. Have to make sure your own kid is not one. That's the
Yeah.
hard job, right? Like I can honestly say to you that my kids are not assholes,
Hmm.
right? Because you are you got to teach them empathy. They have to see how you act and behave, and I hope they're not assholes. I mean, until
No.
someone tells me otherwise. Um, I also learned that I am a good writer,
Mm.
and I used to look up to these comedians. I'm like, oh man, that person's so funny. And now some of these people are my peers and
Mm.
we're doing shows together. And I'm like, you know what? If you put in the effort, you can also be good
Yeah.
at what you want to do.
Yeah.
Just put in the effort and work
Yep.
hard. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And not be afraid to say that you're good at it, right? Like to put
Yeah,
yourself up
that's
for opportunities
I'm
and
yeah, it's been very hard. Like I've had people like peers saying, "Oh, congratulations on this." I'm like, "Oh, it's nothing. It was a small show." And they're like, "Stop doing that to yourself."
yeah.
And there's those um a comedian, Zarna Garg. She's blown up. She's a very funny Indian mom comic. And she congratulated on something. And I was like, oh, nah, stop. Like, it's nothing. It's a free magazine. And she's like, stop doing that to yourself. Other people will tear you down. So don't, like, in the world, you don't have to do that to yourself. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's hard, but when you think about where you were going before you like just seeing that poster, that
Yeah.
that version of you would be like, "Holy crap, we're in a magazine, we're doing tours, we're doing shows." Like,
Yeah.
that's
And that's
cool.
why, like, and some people have come up to me, moms who are like, I've always, in my bucket list, I've always wanted to do stand-up comedy. I'm like, then come to my show and do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no one else is going to give you time on stage. Like, I'm competing with 20-year-old males
Yeah.
who are out every night, but I'm a mom and I will give you that stage time. And I've had few moms who have done my shows who just want to do comedy and like stand-up comedy, and I'm totally supportive of that. I'm like your biggest cheerleader if you want to go in it. There's enough there's enough to go around, you know. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
like, no, I'm the only Asian comedian in this space, right? Like,
Yeah. Right. There's room for everybody. There's a lot of people in the world, and
and everyone has a
every
unique story to tell. Like, I want to
yes,
tell your
exactly.
story.
Yeah.
So have a platform and tell it. People want to listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, Alice, is there any like go-to um productivity like resource or hack as far as like you're creating your content creation that you've been loving recently, or anything new with shooting or production or editing, or anything going on right now that is like, oh, this has really like helped me or saves my sanity, or anything that you've been using recently?
Oh gosh, not really. I mean, I get my inspiration from watching a lot of comedy specials.
Okay.
Like technically speaking, I've upgraded some of my equipment,
Nice.
getting like a lavalier microphone, to produce better quality stuff. But really, it's really a one woman show, and I'm constantly getting content from my real life.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
I feel like
no,
that's
the boring answer.
the best kind of content is when it's based in reality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or parting words lingering on your heart, mind, or soul that you want to make sure to leave people with today? Anything I that you wish I would have asked you that I didn't think to? Anything you want to leave people
Um,
with?
yeah, I feel like I want people to make laughing part of their day,
Mm,
and it doesn't take away from other things in your life. Learn how to compartmentalize. I think that's the easiest way I've been trying to live my life. I'm like, okay, I've reserved a room to take care of my elderly dad. I'll, when I see him, I'm gonna have my full attention on that. But right now I'm with my kids. And then there's times where I'm like focused on creating pure content, and that's for my job, and learning really to compartmentalize everything. And there's always laughter where you can find it. And
mhm,
I feel like you need to find it. People who can't laugh, um, there's a barrier. I
mm.
think laughter is a healing mechanism. It's really medicine, and everybody should be able to laugh once a day at least. That's my prescription.
I love that. I love that. It sounds simple, but it's not always. So I once again appreciate the reminder. Yeah. I know we touched on it earlier. I won't harp on it, but I think it's like we said, sometimes easier to get lost in the external of what's happening, and you could just have a laugh with your partner or your kid, and that's a
Yeah.
nice moment. Or you could scroll on MomCom NYC and have a great laugh.
Laugh at me. That's what I'm here for.
Like, seriously, there are some like the 8 hours till bedtime. Oh my, I died. There's so many, but you're just very, very funny. So, all right. Well, Alice, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciated talking with you and getting to know you better. And just thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun. This was very therapeutic for me, actually.
I'm glad to hear that. Okay. We know I love this conversation. When you watch someone's content for a while and then you get with them in real life, it is always so refreshing to know that they are exactly how you'd expect them to be. And even more inspiring to know that, we watch people online and we think they've got it all figured out. But here we are again, hearing from a very established creator that she doesn't have it all figured out. Hearing Alice talk about imposter syndrome and wondering if she's also talking into the void like I feel sometimes is just really validating and reassuring. And it reminds me that we're all in this weird boat together, and that just because I sometimes wonder if I'm the only imposter, that we all actually feel this way quite often. And how we get through it is by constantly connecting and talking to each other and sharing the real stuff that Alice does every day. So, the story that she told about seeing the comedy night at the bar near her house and just going for it, that ultimately snowballed into this wonderful career. I just love this story. I think it speaks to so many relatable aspects of motherhood, being a creative and content creator. Like, as moms, we never want to take time for ourselves. As a creator, we're always worried about who's doing it better. And just hearing about how she just took that chance, went for it, and let the chips fall is your reminder to do the same. I'm going to offer you a challenge. The next thing that comes your way, whether it's a networking event, a conference, a convention, a book club, a comedy show, something that feels special to you and you're getting that little universal nudge that's saying, hey, go for it, do this. The challenge is to push back and go for it. Push back the voice that immediately follows the universal nudge that says, no, not you, or not now, not now. Push back. It could be the thing that launches something totally incredible and special for you, that inspires your next creation, or that paves the way for something new and great. And you deserve it. Here's the permission. Show up for yourself. Show up for your passions. Content creation isn't just a hobby. It's an outlet. It's a job. And the world needs you, your voice, your authentic self. And if you aren't giving yourself a chance, who will? All right. I'm going to leave it at that. Darn it. Thank you so much, Alyce, for sharing your story and being so open and honest in all of your content and in today's conversation. I just adore you. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. Thanks so much for listening. This podcast is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. To learn more about me, my world, all the things going on, head over to ChristieRocha.com. Bye.